Legends, welcome back to another Instagram TV video. In this video, guys, we're going to be going over the potential trade setups that were available to take last night. This is going to be a new series that I'm going to be coming out with, in which each week I'm going to be going over what is going on within market structure, how market structure is coming about and formulating throughout the week, as well as potential trade setups that the team and I are looking for. And so with that, guys, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and so let's get right into it. Euro US dollar, guys, was range bound within the start of the week. Euro was range bound. On top of that, we can see that there were a tremendous amount of pending orders. Due to the past, we can see that 115, 116 handle has been quite a tough area to break within the past. Taking a look at the 4-hour time frame, guys, we can see that Euro US dollar did attempt to break that 115.91 handle, in which we did start to push last night into London. However, even though we started to break the lows, right, a breakout is just a mere indication. With every impulse does come a state of liquidation or relief. Now, guys, we did get the first movement. We did start to get a break of that 115.91 handle. However, what we failed to get is our continuation pattern, our short-term relief to tell us, you know what, orders are being grabbed, a trend is forming, that lower high is being created. We should expect continuation down if we do start to crack the lows. Now, we failed to get that, which did warrant a false break, that 115.91 handle. Completely and perfectly understandable, simply for the fact that when we broke above this resistance, we did start to create a strong area of support, bullish pending orders, whatever you want to call it in the end of the day. And we can see here that price has attempted in the past to break below that area. And so with that, guys, since we failed to break that 115.91 handle to warrant further continuation down to the 115 handle, failed to do that, now we can see that structure is now starting to break out of its reversal pattern that we did form, in which we could potentially expect some short-term bullish momentum back to this descending trend line. Once again, this is not a trade that we are interested in, as this would all be treated as relief or a state of profit taking for potential further continuation back to the downside. The cleanest buys, guys, are going to be above this weekly resistance, followed by a short-term continuation pattern, and then from there we could expect a rally back to the tops of the range. But once again, the buys are short-term, the sells are short-term. We are range bound until we see a clean break above this or back below the daily support. We will not be looking for any sells or buys. We will simply wait for market structure to formulate and see how we can assess it. Moving on to USD CAD on the daily time frame, we can see that structure was range bound. Now, on top of that, guys, we were not interested in taking the breaks of the tops of the range and taking it to the upside, only because this could be a trap for retail traders. One thing to factor in is that this initial bearish momentum did start by cracking those lows, creating the short-term lower low. Therefore, this can be a structural retest, warranting all of this bullish momentum right now to be treated as relief or a state of liquidation, in which if we do break back below the range of the consolidation, we could expect some type of continuation pattern to form, and start formulating that trend for potential rallies down to the monthly support and potentially even lower. The cleanest plays for the sell, guys, are going to be below the monthly support, simply for the fact that you want to invalidate this initial bullish run. And on top of that, USD CAD has a major amount of money sitting on it from both sides. Therefore, it's so impulsive and very, very wicky, as I like to call it. You will see long wicks up and down. Now, once again, we did not take the buy on the break of this consolidation box. We were unable to the first time because of this false break. And secondly, this is quite impulsive once it broke out of this flag pattern. And so for us, we are not interested in taking this trade to the upside, as we don't want to get caught in the pending orders. And so with that, we're simply going to wait for a clean break above the weekly resistance, followed by a short-term liquidation phase or a continuation pattern, whatever you want to call it. And then from there, once we break out, we could expect rallies back to the upside. Failures to either, guys, we are not interested in, and so we will be moving on. US dollar, Japanese yen on the daily time frame. One thing to factor in, guys, that we did expect structure to push up to that weekly resistance. We did state that on the setups as well as the webinar that was hosted on Tuesday. We were not personally interested in it for a couple of reasons. We are still treating this entire bullish run as a state of liquidation or a corrective movement. On top of that, even though we started to invalidate this initial bearish momentum, how it started by breaking the lows, on top of that, even if we broke back above, potentially saying this is invalid, you do want to take a look in the past and see what had happened at these areas. Between the 111.87 area to about the 113.59, we did see a lot of pending orders from the bear side. Even on top of that, from 114 to about 115, we can see a lot of bearish pending orders, a lot of rejection as well within that previous region. And with that being said, the cleanest buys are going to be above the monthly resistance and above the weekly, followed by a short-term continuation pattern, and then you can start running it to the upside. Go into what is going to happen within here real quick. Well, we can see here that UJ did make a very strong impulse to crack that weekly resistance, turn newfound support. We did see a short-term continuation pattern form after. However, instead of really making a bullish push up, structure started to, consolidate near the previous highs that it broke and started to formulate what we call in our training course a reversal pattern. As a trend needs 4 movements to be called a trend, this only has 2, a low and a high. We are not forming that third movement, which is that higher low. We did form a short-term version, but not a definite one to tell us a trend is in fact formed. Now, one thing to factor is that yes, this is the last lower high to be seen, but short-term. One thing to factor is that the bullish run did start by breaking that previous resistance, which we could expect price to push all the way back down to where that previous weekly resistance is, potentially turn to newfound support, which if that does happen, this would be treated as relief or a state of liquidation for a potential rally back up, as well as you could have one potential short-term sell below that weekly resistance / support down to the daily ascending trend. When 2 channels intersect at the same point, we're simply going to wait for price to prove to us which way it's going to move. Right now, one thing to factor is that you got a lot of key critical areas here on UJ with the monthly support sitting here, previous weekly levels, and a lot of rejection. You want to see clean breaks between either direction, guys. As of right now, this is showing for reversal, not continuation. We could potentially expect rallies at least down to the previous daily resistance, which should be turned to newfound support. GBP USD, another trade that we were interested in last night, but unfortunately we're unable to take it. So one thing to factor is that after this impulse, we formed a reversal pattern, not a continuation pattern, but within this reversal pattern, we are seeing short-term continuations patterns, which we can see that is GBP US dollars behavior. So looking at it, what was the trade idea we were looking for? First and foremost, we needed a clean break of these lows to tell us that, you know what, we are definitely going to continue to the downside. This ascending momentum is now invalid. Now take a look at this. Even though that we did break quite impulsively, I was expecting a deeper pullback, but even though we pulled back, by the time we broke out of this ascending trend, structure pushed too hard for us to even capture the entry. On top of that, there were a lot of pending orders sitting here at that 130.32 area, and so that wasn't something that we were interested in. At times, guys, it happens. You miss the trade, and you simply reassess and move forward now and say which way we can go about it. So looking at pound dollar, it's quite impulsive. We are going to expect some type of liquidation. Whenever this starts to break out, we are going to start running that straight back to the downside, and we're going to try to target all the way down to the monthly support if we can. Now, if it doesn't do that and this starts to break back inside, are we interested in taking it? I wouldn't necessarily say so, guys, only because then you would be breaking back above that previous 130.32 area. But if this starts to happen, this would be warranted as short term, as this could all be treated as relief or a state of liquidation for another drop. Cleanest buys, guys, are above the weekly resistance, both followed by a short-term continuation pattern, and then from there you could start rallying it up to the monthly resistance foundation. AUD USD, guys. Now, like I said, just on pound dollar, after AU's impulse, we did form a very long state of reversal and not a trend continuation, even though within it we do see short-term reliefs and the short-term state of liquidation. So that is AUD's behavior. Makes complete sense now why everything impulses after we make a state of liquidation or correction. That is simply the nature of the pair. We can see here that we were descending, and more importantly, all of this bullish momentum for us is going to be treated as relief or a state of liquidation, telling us that all the buys are warranted as short-term, moderate to higher risk, as well as the sells are warranted as more longer-term approach, lower to moderate risk, simply for the fact that's continuation of the entirety of the momentum. Going to look at it, even though we did break the lows here, we failed to get what we entirely wanted, which was a nice pullback, and that never broke out. We never got the breakout of that small term flag. And when we did break out, we made another very strong impulse, which is not something that we can take. For me, when I started noticing this and we failed to break out, I was going to say, you know what? I want the lows broken. Invalidate this for me. Then let me see a continuation pattern, and then I'll start running it down. That's the cleanest setup. Why try to fight in here and try to get those quick pips? That's not necessary. You can try. I'm not interested in that. That's just not something that I want to take. Cleanest play below the weekly support. Are there viable sells here? Absolutely. Just not something that I'm personally interested in. This is forming a short-term state of liquidation. If this starts to break out, short-term pullback, you could expect a rally down to that weekly support. Like I said, cleanest sells are below here. Now for the buys, the only way you're going to have a buy is if you break above the 74.20 handle, invalidating this initial sell, which broke this previous low, which is how that bearish momentum occurred, making all of this legend, sorry for all the drawings, all of this relief for a state of liquidation. That is not the best color. And so once again, we got to break back above to invalidate this. Then from there, legends, once we break back above, we're going to look for a short-term continuation pattern above the weekly resistance, legends, and then from there you could rally it back to the daily descending. Short-term, once again, as this could all be treated as a state of liquidation or relief for further continuation down, unless we break back above the monthly, start invalidating this bearish momentum. So with that, legends, trade smart, not often. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. I look forward to seeing you guys all in the next video. I'll speak to you guys soon.